What's up guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be analyzing the Better Than Reality series by Subwoofer. So about a month ago now I released my Better Than Reality series part 1 video. It's actually exactly a month ago. I checked and that was released on October 25th and I'm recording this on November 25th. And I said that I'd do a part 2 to it, and I hadn't gotten around to it. Granted, I did take 2 weeks off, so that's probably part of the reason, because I probably would have done it then. But this video is very long overdue. I said that I would do it probably within a week of that, and now I'm doing it a month later, so sorry about that, but better late than never, so I'm doing it now, and we're going to be taking a look at what I think is the storyline behind the Better Than Reality series. So, let's get started. So we're going to be doing this level by level and then trying to piece together what each level reveals in the end by mashing them all together. So we're going to be doing it level by level just in the order. So the first level we're going to be taking a look at today is Ghosts.
So Ghosts doesn't have too much information for us right now, but there are a couple things that I want to nail down. So the first thing that I want to take a look at is how void the level is of others. Now, this is going to be a thing throughout the levels. As we go on, there will be others that appear, and Ghosts is probably the only level that is just totally null of anyone else, like other cubes or characters or whatever. It is just totally empty. It's just you in this empty cityscape, and that's a very important idea that we will return to later. Another thing I want to point out is this TV screen transition right before the drop. You go through with this little TV screen that says Better Than Reality, and this is foreshadowing to a future character, and we will see this multiple times. Now, as for what I think this level represents in this series, I think that this level represents us entering the city for the first time, and the city seems totally empty to us, and it's just completely null of anyone else, and I think that this level represents us entering the city.
So we are going to come back to Ghosts a little bit later. There's just not much information for us right now to take a look at, but we're going to move on from that for now, and we're going to take a look at Perpetual Motion.
So Perpetual Motion has probably the least amount of information out of any of these levels. I know that Ghost didn't seem like it had that much, but we are going to come back to that one. Perpetual Motion, however, definitely has the least amount of information, but it still does have some key concepts, so let's nail those down. Now, most of the lore reveals I find are towards the second half of this level. I found that there wasn't much information in the first half that was very useful, but in the second half, there's a lot more going on, and the first thing that I want to point out is that I think that the level is trying to stop and try and kill you with all like the traps hidden about. Throughout the level, you notice that there's a lot of moving objects, and you have to hit like switches to move these blocks out of the way, or else you'll just die. And I think that that kind of represents that the level's been kind of trapped to get you, and you have to kind of use the switches around you and use your environment just to avoid it. Another piece of evidence that I want to point out, now this one's a bit more of a stretch to be fair, but these little lines that you can see throughout this section towards the end, I thought that they kind of looked like little spaceships, and that could be our first hint towards other characters within the Better Than Reality universe. Now, I know that's kind of a stretch because they are just kind of blobs of lines, but I thought that they sort of looked like spaceships traveling across the screen, and perhaps they are. Maybe they just look very distorted because of maybe the way we're seeing. Maybe that represents like us finally seeing others for the first time, but they're very distorted and hard to see. So that could be what that means. As for what I think that Perpetual Motion represents, I think that it represents us first deviating from the classic system within the city for the first time. Because I think that what's going on here, we will see in the next level, there will be a lot more others, and others that aren't particularly on our side. So I think that it was possible that they set up these traps to try and kill us, and in the next level we're going to see them a lot more bright, clear and day. So that's why I think that this level represents us deviating from the system that the people in the city want us to go by.
Again, not too much reveal in Perpetual Motion either, but our next level, Walkman, has a lot of lore reveal. So let's take a look at Walkman.
So Walkman has a lot of evidence that we need to take a look at, so let's start off with the small robots at the beginning of the level. So at the beginning of the level, there's a pretty substantially long boss fight at the beginning where you go against these 3 laser shooting robots. And now, for what I think these robots are doing, I think that they are the authorities of the city, kind of like police officers. And they're trying to get you because you're the criminal. They've been sent here by whatever character is behind all of this to get you. And perhaps they were the ones that set up the traps in Perpetual Motion, but now they're coming out full front and center to try and laser you to death. Now, another thing in this little boss fight here in the beginning, as you can see in the background at a certain point, you can see this rectangle with these tentacle-looking things coming off of them, floating throughout in the distance. And this is another foreshadowing to a later character that we saw in Ghosts. This is the same foreshadowing, and it will become very important later on. So we're seeing more and more of this character as we go along, so keep that in mind. Now, throughout the middle of the level, there really isn't any plot reveal that I could find, but at the very end, in the very last section, I could find a pretty decent amount. So, the first thing that I want to talk about in this last section is the other cubes, and you can notice that these other cubes are going in the opposite direction you are, perhaps enforcing the idea of you deviating, because now in Walkman, we can kind of see everything pretty clearly in this city. We are able to see that character in the background, we're seeing the authorities that are trying to stop us, and now we're fully seeing the others in this city. And you can notice that they're going in the opposite direction, which is why I think that it kind of represents us deviating, because everyone's going in one direction, but we're going away from all of them. And I also noticed that how they were all blue and kind of looked like holograms, so I thought that that was kind of an interesting detail. I'm not exactly sure what that could mean. It could maybe mean that maybe we're still not fully seeing them for what they truly are, and they just kind of look like holograms in our head. And I think that this last section also means that we are kind of taking to the streets to outrun the authorities from earlier, and perhaps the robots kind of turned around and chased us after we escaped into the subway, so maybe they were still after us, and we took to the streets and ran them out. As for what I think that Walkman is trying to tell us, I think that this level represents us seeing what the city is truly like. Because we can finally see the authorities, we see these others, and we kind of see it, and it definitely looks a lot more dystopian than what we saw in Ghosts and Perpetual Motion. Especially in Ghosts. In Ghosts, we just saw like a peaceful, quiet city, and in Walkman, we are seeing these authorities trying to kill us, these crazy subway trains, and others. And it's just kind of bananas in Walkman, and compared to Ghost, we really see what the city for what it truly is here.
So a lot of key points right there in Walkman. There's a lot of information to gather in from that level, but we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at All Night Long.
So the first piece of evidence that I want to touch on in All Night Long is at the very beginning, we notice that there are these kind of red flashing lights on either side of the screen, and I think that these lights represent the authority robots chasing us down from the last level, Walkman. And the reason I think this is because at the end of Walkman, I thought that we were kind of like escaping the authorities, taking to the streets, and now we've kind of fled to this little alleyway, and they're still after us. And so I think that those lights kind of represent like maybe like the police sirens, or like the lights coming off of them, or whatever. So in this level, I think that what it's trying to say is that we're taking to the club, we're heading out to the nightclub, and we're kind of hiding there, and it's totally 80s, you know, like you see all these like 80s music videos, and it's always like the main character in them is like escaping to the nightclub to get away from the cops that are after him because they drove their motorcycle too fast or whatever. I think that it's kind of like this, and later on in the level, we also see that tentacled character in the background. We see it even clearer than we have in Ghosts or Walkman, and we are going to see that character very soon. As for what I think this level represents, I think that it represents us trying to find a way to escape the city, because in Walkman, we finally discovered what the city is really like, and you don't want that, so we're trying to find a way to escape in All Night Long and try and find a way out of the city.
Now that we've taken a look at All Night Long, we're going to be taking a look at Better Than Reality, and we're going to try and piece together all the evidence that we've gathered from looking at all the levels and try and figure out what the true story behind it all is. So let's take a look at Better Than Reality.
So at the very beginning of Better Than Reality, we finally see the character that's been foreshadowed in Ghosts, Walkman, and All Night Long, right there in the background. I'm not sure what the character is. It definitely looks like some sort of TV with tentacles, just like how we saw in Ghosts with the TV, and in Walkman with the character flying in the background. It's the exact same shape, and then in All Night Long again as well. So this character analyzes us in certain game modes throughout like the first third of the level, like in this wave and ball section at the very beginning, it'll like analyze you, and then it'll start summoning little copies. Like there will be other waves and other balls kind of chasing you, and you actually die if you touch them. So what I think that this could mean is that the character in the background is analyzing us and creating copies or clones or it could be mind control of the citizens that we see in other levels. And you notice how they're not like holograms or made of lines in this level. They're full on just like purple little characters. They're full on, so perhaps that's what that means. Maybe it's like mind control. Who knows? So now, as for what all of this means throughout all of these 5 levels, I want to first go back to Ghost, because this is this part where Ghost becomes such a significant level in the story of this series. So in Ghost, you enter the city, and I think that what it represents is you are a ghost. And what being a ghost in this city means is you can't see anyone else, you're just alone in an empty city off to yourself. Because you enter the city somehow as a ghost like everyone else, but in Perpetual Motion, you deviate and are able to see the city for what it truly is in Walkman. A broken city full of cubes and others and robotic authorities to keep it that way for the character. So basically what it means is in Ghosts you are like totally alone in the city, and then in Perpetual Motion you deviate, and then in Walkman you are able to see it for what it truly is. Taking a look at Better Than Reality again, at the very final part, you dash warp right through the character, defeating it, and I think that this could mean one of 2 things. The first thing that it could be is just you simply destroying the character and maybe freeing everyone in the city, or the second ending, which is a lot more corny, to be fair, but I think that the second ending could be that it's all a simulation and you free yourself by doing that, because looking at this, you can kind of see that it switches between you going through the character and you simply coming out the back of a TV screen. And if you really are just coming out of the back of the TV screen, then it could just be that, oh, it was all a simulation trope. I hope not. I kind of prefer the first ending, but it's very possible that it could mean the second ending as well. And it's probably more likely the second ending, because in the short cutscene after you finally defeat the character, you'll see the text for Better Than Reality come up, and once that goes away, you'll see the evil character's face in the background, and it'll do a little evil laugh, and that could potentially mean that it isn't over, and maybe it's going to go on and find another victim, since maybe you escaped its simulation, but it's going to go find someone else and do it to them.
So anyways guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Today's video has been a lot of fun to make. I really like taking a look and kind of analyzing things like this, and it's something I've never done before, but I had a lot of fun doing this. So let me know if you'd like to see something like this again in the future, because this was a lot of fun to put together. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. There will be a link to my Discord server in the description if you want to go join and chat. But on that note, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you all in the next video.